Hello everyone, Female Frodo Baggins here, and today is the day when we finally get reviews for what I have realized is my most anticipated film of the year, the one that I was most curious about, and the one that I have had the most contentious relationship with what I have seen in the advertisement. The reviews for Fantastic Four are finally out, and I have spent all morning reading them. And wouldn't you know, it has currently an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes as of this recording. It's not getting lambasted or anything, but there are caveats in these reviews that I want to talk about. But here's the thing, you guys. When I first see the influencers come out in the first Critic reviews, it's gotten to a point where I just don't trust them anymore because, especially the influencer reviews on social media, it's become so clear that these are just people who are going to praise these movies no matter what. And they actually turn me off from the film because they confuse my emotions of, oh, people are liking it, but no, the film isn't good. So, I really have a hard time trusting the influencers. I don't trust them at all. I have a hard time trusting the early critic reactions. So I've just spent close attention on this thing and seeing what the reactions are from people I trust. And they're very interesting, and I'm wondering how this film is ultimately gonna go for people when we see it. So I want to talk about what I'm hearing about Fantastic Four that is good, and what I'm hearing that is going to be red flags for a lot of people. And mind you, I don't see the film for another 2 days. I won't have my review up till Friday. But guys, listen, this is what I want to get off my chest. I do a lot of negative reviews on this channel. I'll talk about a lot of negative stuff. My ultimate goal of being negative is to get something better, though. So my ultimate goal of being negative on Fantastic Four for, say, changing characters for no reason, or doing things that are counterintuitive, or assassinating characters potentially. I'm not saying that they've done that. I'm just saying the potential of it. My entire reason for saying any of those things is with the hope that someday we will get something better for these characters, whether that comes in the form of creating better movies or needing to get different leadership that creates better movies. Whatever the case may be, the only reason I would ever wish for a film to not do well is if the film is bad, and if the film being successful would mean more of that bad direction, which I'll have more to say on Superman a little later, because after being gaslighted to see that movie is doing great, I'm seeing that actually that might not be true. It might not even do Man of Steel numbers. But the thing is, what would concern me about the Superman movie doing well is that, okay, that movie was a disaster in terms of plot. So if you accept that, you're just going to get more. Just like we're eternally stuck with bad Jurassic Park movies because people won't stop seeing them. So that's the entire point. Right now, and I am done with box office predictions because they keep fluctuating. Right now, they're saying that Fantastic Four might open even bigger than Superman with the trajectory it's currently having. So we'll see, but I think it's safe to say that at least it's going to have a fine opening weekend, and that means that the box office is going to affect how Marvel perceives things and how they go forward after this is successful. But here's what I'm hearing about the film, and here's where I'm at with how I feel about it. So, I usually start with things that I have less of to say first. So let's start with the bad that I'm hearing first, because in this case, I do have less things to say that are bad from these reactions than I do for the good things, and we'll get to that. But one of the first reviews that was posted was the infamous IGN, and they gave the movie a 7 out of 10. The reactions from this film have been ranging from 4.5 out of 5, or 3 out of 5, or a B, or A+. It's all on a curve of either people think that it's a really good, solid film, or some people think it's mid. I haven't seen any notable reactions from people saying that this is a disaster, or people saying that this is the greatest movie ever, apart from the influencers. So that's the overall impression that I'm getting from people on this film. The worst that I've heard about it is either that it's kind of boring to people, or that it's solidly good. And I've not been hearing that just from the shills. I've been hearing that from critics that I trust. But going back to that IGN article, there was something in this, and they gave it a 7 out of 10 once again. that gave me some red flags, that they basically confirmed all of the leaks from the test screening, that Ben Grimm does not get as much screen time as you would think, and that's a disappointment. But then they also seemingly confirmed the stuff about Sue Storm overtaking the movie, saying that the other characters in the movie are going to get beat down and tossed aside, but she always steps up and comes through for everyone. She is always the one to save the day, according to their words. And that filled me with disappointment because I'm like, this was my greatest fear, or one of the greatest fears for the movie, that other characters were going to be put down in order to elevate Sue, because that is what Disney has done with so many of their projects. However, that was once again, one of the big red flags I've heard for the film. But I'm listening to some other people who I trust on this stuff, who I think would probably be more critical of this if it was bad. But they're saying that Sue and her being strong and her stepping up to bat, that it actually works in context and that it's giving a context that makes sense for the movie. Because this is a mother trying to protect her child. And I gotta say, I did read the leaked plot for the movie a long time ago, and this stuff has already been leaked out in trailers. But the idea that it is Franklin Richards or the world, that does sound interesting to me. It does sound interesting that there's this child, and this child is so powerful it could create, I don't know if this is a spoiler, they've already kind of spoiled it, but I'll just say Franklin has a certain power that Galactus wants that would be very satisfactory for Galactus. But it basically becomes Franklin Richards, their child, or the universe. And how does the public feel about that when they're about to be destroyed all over not giving up this child? So that to me conceptually sounds like a very interesting moral dilemma. Now, other positive things I'm hearing about it is I am hearing that characters are still changed from the comics, like Pedro as Reed, and Johnny I still think is going to be a little changed, but I'll give my thoughts on him when I see the movie, obviously, and what ultimately I see for this. But they do say that Johnny Storm is given a pivotal role in the movie, and I do like hearing that. But then, of course, you know, there's positive things that I'm hearing about the movie that make me soften up on it a little bit. And then there's some negative things, like a lot of people, but, oh my goodness, I almost forgot this. The most positive thing that I'm hearing about this movie is that it does not fill itself up with Marvel humor. And that could not be a better thing for me to hear about it, because one of the main things that has been turning me off of superhero films is how reliant they are on what I'm just going to call James Gunn's humor. Now, obviously, Superman was entirely James Gunn humor throughout the entire thing. Thunderbolts as well had that subversive, let's kill the tension with a joke thing going on with it. And that's kind of in every Marvel movie. But they say that Fantastic Four sticks to its tone. It takes things seriously when they need to be taken seriously and doesn't undercut everything with a joke. That alone, I'll just warn you guys, and I don't know if I'm going to like this movie still, because remember, Superman got a score in the 80s as well, and I wound up thinking that that movie was a travesty, and it was, and I still stand by that. But my goodness, for even just my personal reaction to a film, not having the Marvel humor could do a lot of good for me, for just my enjoyment of a film, and letting a moment sit and not having it constantly subverted by some lame, forgettable joke. So that's where I'm at with this. I'm like, okay, I'm hearing some things that are taking away some of the red flags, and I'm wondering if that IGN article was even just worded in a certain way that was intentionally inflammatory and trying to get people mad. We will see. I have to see the context in which these characters are portrayed and how it all plays out for me. And maybe it won't be such an outrage thing. Maybe I'll think it's good. Maybe I will think that it's boring, like some people seem to think that it is. Once again, my entire goal on this channel of criticism is to hopefully get stuff that is better. So I'm not going to skimp if the movie winds up being a whole lot better than I expected. But here's the thing, and we must do here's the thing as much as possible because we don't have a lot of time left to do it. There are things that I am still concerned with going forward with Marvel after this. I'm talking even theoretically if Fantastic Four is fine. I'm not expecting it to blow my socks off or anything, but even if it just subverts all my concerns and turns out fine. Kevin Feige did that interview about the Marvel reboot, and I initially did my reaction to just that part, that yes, I would love Marvel to reboot. But then I just read so many more of what he said in that interview, and he said so many dumb things, guys. Obviously, there was him sidestepping around Kang and being like, we just decided he wasn't as big as Thanos. And like, that is a lie. He wasn't working for your movies like Quantum Mania. And then you had the whole Jonathan Majors lawsuits. It's not true that you just thought he wasn't big enough. You squandered him in addition to other meta stuff that was happening. But Kevin Feige also said stuff like, he thinks that WandaVision and Loki are some of the best Marvel projects ever made. Dude, like, WandaVision I loved in the beginning, but that finale ruined it. That finale completely ruined it because the entire series was reliant on a mystery, and that finale did not deliver on that mystery at all. And Loki and the world building done in Loki has had ramifications on the MCU that it might never be able to recover from saying that all of the original Infinity Saga was just orchestrated events because any other decision would have gotten the characters pruned. Loki was awful, and his defense of Thunderbolts was that it was a very, very good movie. He is convinced that Thunderbolts was a very good movie. It was not. In fact, it's now becoming more popular. I saw viral tweets just this last week of people crapping on Thunderbolts after they were originally shilling for it. No, Thunderbolts was not good. And if we can see that word of mouth can give Superman better holds, then you better not give the excuse that Thunderbolts was this fantastic movie that just for some reason people didn't go see with great word of mouth. It wasn't a fantastic movie. But Kevin Feige is blaming everything that has gone wrong with Marvel on Disney Plus. And just like the Marvels, he says, wasn't a success because it was too tied to Disney Plus. And Thunderbolts wasn't a success because it's tied to Disney Plus. And it's like, you really think that the only reason that people didn't see a movie like The Marvels, which was the most choppily edited, insane thing that they've produced to this point, you think that it was all just because of Disney Plus and that that's not why people aren't going to see these movies? It's because they're terrible movies. And there's so many reasons that go into them being terrible movies. But on that note, I am concerned that Fantastic Four, if it's good, if it's decent, and if it gets a good box office, then that is going to evaluate what's essentially his self-autopsy, that the only problem that they ever had was Disney Plus, when that is not true. And I mean, on that note, he also said that the reason why Blade isn't getting off the ground is they don't want to just have Mahershala Ali put in leather and fighting vampires. And it's like, yes, my sir, it is really that simple. And it sounds like you are the one complicating it. But here's what I want to get out here. You might be saying, like, but what if Fantastic Four is good and they've turned things around? What does it matter what he said? I think even if Fantastic Four is good, and jury's still out on that for me, I have to see it myself, but then we have Avengers Doomsday. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of thing that I don't think I will have my mind changed on or will be convinced on. Doomsday sounds like it is going to be an abject disaster. They already started filming it, had to delay it while they were filming it, had actors come on board on the film without having read the script, still didn't have a script while they were filming it, and now, apparently, they are still writing the script as they are filming the movie and have been for months now, and they got Michael Waldron, the guy who wrote Doctor Strange MOM, to help work on the script with them and fix it. And it's like, there is no way in any planet, way, shape, or form that Doomsday is going to work out. And what then? Like, what if you do have maybe a moderate success with Fantastic Four and Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I think Spider-Man Brand New Day is set to do well because it's Spider-Man. But then you just have Doomsday and Secret Wars that could be the biggest disaster you've ever seen in terms of the response to it. So it's like we're still not out of the woods yet. I want to see Fantastic Four for myself, but I'm just worried because I don't want this film to validate any of the other bad things that they're still doing and make them think that they can get away with it, because it's going to come back to roost eventually. And then, of course, there's the X-Men characters, and I am going to do a separate video about my concerns for the MCU X-Men. But I also have just a lot of disappointment and red flags with that as well, with, like, getting Jack Schreier, the guy who did Thunderbolts, a movie that lost money, the lowest grossing superhero movie of the year, and saying, hey, yeah, sure, do the biggest property apart from the Avengers that we have. Sure, go ahead. It sounds really bad to me. And once again, I am going to do a separate video talking about all the ins and outs of MCU X-Men. But like, guys, X-Men is my sacred cow for Marvel. So that is why I am really afraid that if they learn the wrong lessons from whatever happens with Fantastic Four and just go full speed ahead with all this stuff, because I'm still not convinced Kevin Feige should still be doing this with all that he's saying. I'm still, with that interview, actually it just seemed disastrous to me. I'm still not convinced that he should still be doing this. And he said that his contract has 2 more years. And it's like, are you really going to have him go full speed ahead with all of this stuff? It really concerns me. I'm concerned that it all depends on how Fantastic Four seems, but I'm concerned that we're just in sort of a cycle because Superman rebooted and that movie was terrible and it's going to affect things in the future, whether people are willing to admit that now or not. So I'm just a bit concerned for where the comic book films are going, because I'm still not convinced that there is enough incentive for the people behind the scenes to really change, even though we saw in the past they could really make things on a very high height, and they haven't made something that's an 11 out of 10 in a very long time, or a 10 out of 10, or even a 9 out of 10. And I don't know how they're ever going to find their way back to those heights. So there's still a lot of concerns from me going forward with Marvel, but I'm going to watch Fantastic Four for myself, going to see what it is, and see what things shake out in the future. And this is going to become X-Men Central very soon, as I'm advocating for the correct versions of the characters. But what do you guys think? Do you think that there is any chance in the world? Because I would like the Fantastic Four to live on as a brand and have something that did well for them for once, but I just want it to treat the characters right and be a somewhat decent movie. Let me know if you think that it can be that in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.